Through all the pressures, all the demands, all screaming and grabbing, shines reality. With name above naming, who are you, reality? That I am drawn so to you. Who are you? And what is my resistance? And how does it melt into clarity of vision, as clear as spring's stroke on snow, that sends it into clear running streams? Who are you? That we celebrate your birth of centuries past. Who are you? I bow to you, I stay still. Your holy fire consumes me. I welcome the Christ. Our speaker today is a wonderful guest speaker. She's a very busy, active person. She speaks. She helps us make wonderful decisions. She's a professional type individual all the way through. And she's speaking on the Christ that I am. So let's welcome guest speaker Cathryne Bruce Johnson. Always perfect.
Thank you so much, Reverend Elaine. And thank you, everyone, for having me here at the Teaching of Being Christ. Today, we are discovering the Christ that I am. The Christ that I am. Well, I'll tell you one thing. Whoever you think you are more than that. Just shake it off. Whatever kind of label has fallen on you, that's not the truth of you. Shake it off. Whatever has happened that you felt has defined you or weigh you down, nope, that's not it. You are more than that. Just shake that off. Just shake it off, because as our founder, Ann Meyer McKeever, says, we are more than our human identities. We are spiritual beings having a human experience. Oh, gosh, what a relief. I'll tell you, it's not easy being a human being with our personalities and living our lives with other human beings that are also trying to make their way through everything that comes at us. But the wonderful thing is that, especially in this Christmas season, we can remember that we each hold a secret treasure, the Christ I am. The Christ I am. The Christ you are. The inner Christ. The secret treasure within. Now, at Christmas time, I always think of the shining star. Remember the Star of Bethlehem that was leading the wise men to the King, the great light of the world. And there is a bright, shining star of Christ's light, of Christ's love within us. And we can, where will it lead us? Where will your inner Christ lead you? Well, we can attune. Isn't that wonderful? Did you know that we can attune to this Christ vibration within us? We can actually attune to it and shake off all this heaviness of who we think we are. or who others think we are. And we can be that Christ love, that Christ light within us. And you know, what happens? What do you think happens when we unify? You know, this is our Christ self embraces us, and our Christ self tells us, I love you. I love you. You are worthy. You are perfect. You're doing exactly what you're supposed to be doing. And I'm with you. I'm with you when you call me. And I can help you and lift you. Because it's a little mucky here in the physical world, living as human beings. But that may be what we're here to do, is go through it and to lift. So the secret treasure we have all been seeking, that star that seems at a distance, is really right here in ourselves. Let us talk more about the secret treasure, the Christ I am. The Christ is interesting. We're talking about a term, a description, not just the person of Jesus the Christ. In the Metaphysical Bible Dictionary by Charles Fillmore, on page 142, Christ, from the Greek word Christ, means anointed one, being anointed, being more than what we think we are. So Christ is a divine idea man. Each of us has each of us has within him the Christ, just as Jesus had. And we must look within to recognize and realize our sonship, our divine origin and birth, even as he did, meaning Jesus Christ. By continually unifying ourselves with the highest, by our thoughts and words, we too shall become sons of God, manifest. The Christ is the higher self of man. So ignore the old languaging of this, but do get the message that we are Christ beings, we're more than we seem to be. So in Being a Christ book, this is a wonderful textbook of the teaching of the inner Christ, being a Christ. And on page 5, it tells us that each person is a stream of consciousness, from the universal God through many levels of vibration to the most physical level, his or her human self who walks the earth. Each person is experiencing life on each of these many levels simultaneously. Each person is a stream of identities within the one body. So we are in vibrational bodies, the densest being our physical body. But there's a mental body too. That's where our thoughts, it actually creates form, a mental body, our thoughts, our beliefs. There is an emotional body. How are we feeling? Our feeling nature. There's a vibration. And one of the things that we learn at the teaching of the inner Christ is how to lift through these finer levels of vibration through what we call the psychic barrier. This is a belief barrier of, remember I talked about who we think we are? It's a box. And we go through that. The power of the Christ brings us through that into our spiritual vibrations. It's not outside of us, it's us. It's each one of us. We have a soul body, and those vibrate, we call it the Christ consciousness. The anointed one, where the Christ, God, knows itself as human, and human knows itself as God. There's a unity that happens there. So we're so much more than we think we are. And just as the wise men followed the star of Bethlehem, looking for Jesus, the Christ child, we can follow the star of our own inner Christ. We can be wise and follow the inner light of our own Christ self, the anointed self. This is the secret treasure, the Christ that I am. Interesting things happen when we do this. There may be a turning away from habits. There may be some lifestyle changes. And there may be, it's like being in the box. Can you imagine being in a box? What can we see when we're in a box? Well, we see the four walls of the box. And that seems to be all there is. But when we are tuning into the higher frequency of our Christ self, we're lifted out to a higher perspective. We see a bigger picture, that we're not the little container, but we're making choices. Maybe we're breaking down the wall of that box. Maybe we're expanding and bringing the Christ light and the Christ love to our world, to our experience of life. And it's a wonderful thing, because when our perspectives change, we can make new choices. We can make new choices. And one of the most powerful choices we can make is to tune in to our spiritual nature and bring that forward, apply it into our life in the world. You know, we are very powerful when we attune to our Christ nature, the Christ that I am. We learn to realize how powerful we are to make change through vibrational shifting. You know, love can open every door. We tune into the Christ love and the Christ light. We relate to ourselves, who we think we are, in a different way. We develop a relationship with that vibrational being, with ourselves. And we begin to relate to people around us in a different way. We begin healing old hurts, maybe, old pains from the past, relationships. And we learn about our self-authority. It's very powerful to know what you know. Isn't it wonderful? I mean, can you imagine? Instead of everyone telling me what I'm supposed to know, what I'm supposed to be, I know what's right for me. I know what's wise for me. I know what to do, because I am in communication. I am connected to my own inner Christ, the Christ I am. So in this connection, we change our world. There's a lot of pain in the world right now, a lot of turmoil. I look at that and see, what is the pain and the turmoil in me that is seeking more love, that is seeking to be resolved. And my Christ self helps me with that, brings me to that. So far, we've talked about shaking off that false sense of self, all the labels, all the things we think we are. We've talked about getting out of that box and tuning in, because realizing we're spiritual beings having a human experience. And we're remembering that that secret treasure within us is the Christ I am, the Christ you are. the Christ I am for you, if we are separate identities having this experience. The Being the Christ book also talks about the rich experience of the glorious dual life on page 7. There's a glorious dual life because when we make this contact, when we have more, we're still living, I mean, we still have our personalities, we're still working in the world, relating in the world, but the dual life is that we are tuned to our spiritual nature, and it is an embracing, it is an intermarriage, it is a rediscovery, it is a relationship that we have with ourselves at that higher frequency. And it brings balance, so that we have to also know that in the Christ I am is a balance. We still live our lives, chop wood, carry water, yep, we still do that. And we are learning all the time how to be kind, how to help each other, how to help ourselves, how to make better choices, starting to realize what the things that we do, the way we are in the world truly has an effect on everyone around us. And when we're consciously aware, when we have our spiritual nature right there with us, arm in arm with us, we make different choices. We express love. We lift. And this does change the world. We change our sphere first, but something about that lifts the whole world. So I have some suggestions, some things to do when we're tuning to and working with the Christ I am. We're juggling life. Choose. If we're juggling, just choose even a brief amount of time to tune in, to make friends. Choose to have a relationship with our own spiritual nature. There's a saying that I love. The first time I heard it, I just thought it was perfect. Hey, don't cheat yourself. Treat yourself. Don't cheat yourself from being attuned to your spiritual nature. Treat yourself to the joy of that. Even for small amounts of time, in the juggling, make room. Make sure. The second thing is, we have to be diligent about nurturing. Consciously nurture our spiritual relationship, our connection to our spiritual nature. And consistency doesn't have to be a long time. If an hour seems too much, half hour seems too much, maybe 20 minutes, 10 minutes, even 5 minutes. Maybe you'll do it twice a day instead of once a day, of breathing, tuning in, and saying, I feel you, feeling that. So we need to choose. We need to nurture the growth, because what we're doing are planting seeds for a rich harvest over time. The harvest will be rich. And the third thing is, let's learn to trust our inner wisdom. Trust our inner wisdom. Pause. Learn to trust our inner wisdom when needed. And, do you need some help? Well, the Teaching of the Inner Christ is presenting its basic course, Inner Sensitivity, with its Being a Christ textbook, in just a few weeks. So go on to the website teachingoftheinnerchrist.org and sign up for this online class and learn, experience with this group intention of making contact with our inner Christ, the Christ I am, going through these levels of vibration, going through the psychic barrier, and making that deep vibrational contact with our own Christ nature. And with that, opening the box to new inner sensitivity, new experiences of seeing life, and attuning to the spiritual nature. Because when we do that, we see with new eyes, we hear with new ears, we feel, we touch, we have the inner knowing with this whole new vibrational body. And so don't forget to nurture yourself by taking the class. Dear ones, the Christmas star, there is a Christmas star within us, a Christ consciousness within us. It is the secret treasure that is ever with us in our hearts. Discover it, nurture it, and live it. The Christ in me salutes the Christ in you.
It's beautiful. Thank you so much. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you so much. Really, very well done, Cathryne Bruce Johnson. Now we will have offering of tithes and gifts. And I call, 1 minute please, oh yes. And offering of tithes and gifts. And I invite you online to join in for that if you have found value in today's service. We invite you to assist in supporting the teaching of the inner Christ, as you are led, of course, by visiting our website and teachingoftheinnerchrist.org with your donation. So we trust completely what Jesus promised us in Luke 6:38, and I quote, "Give, and it will be given to you. Good measure pressed down, shaken together, running over, will be put in your lap. For with the measure that you use, it will be measured back to you." So,